Hello, 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 hello. Do you have junk mail envelopes? This is just a small stack. Behind me in my little cubie, I have three 11 by 11 square cubbies full of envelopes. Plus, I have two boxes and a full case of envelopes sitting off to the side that there's nowhere for me to put them. Um, Hence, why I decided to do this particular series. So this is showing you how to use junk mail envelopes in your journal. What I'm looking for right now is an envelope that is not open on the side closest to the window. That may be a possibility. Nope, that's open on the window side. You'll see why once I get there. There's one, but there's not a whole lot of room there. How's this one? Let's use this blue one because it, being blue, it's going to have to be, covered and stuff anyway. Oops. Picked up a couple glue pages there. I'm going to set that stack off to the side. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this back down, and I'm going to repair this little edge here by gluing that down. Be careful you don't glue your, the envelope itself closed if you're having to repair an envelope. The back is not so important, especially if you're going to be covering it. The big thing for this particular way to use your journals is you want to make sure that the side closest to your window is closed, because that's going to be the bottom of your pocket. We're going to be cutting some of this up here. So even though I glued that, you'll see why I needed to in just a moment. Okay. So you're going to want to get yourself a long envelope. It's got a window in it. You can do this without the window if you want to. It's not necessary. It just gives you an added element of design. I don't remember whose channel I saw this on. I can't tag them. If I happen to find it, I'll go back and tag them in it. But this is one that I've done before, and I know it kind of from memory. So you're going to want an envelope to where you don't want one that's got an envelope, a window that's like this, because you want to be able to fold this piece down to at least at the most just above that line, because you're going to be creating a flap. I go above just a smidge. Okay. Maybe we should cover this first. Yeah, I think we're going to cover it first. And what I'm doing for this particular journal is any covers that I need to do, any collaging, I'm going to use the insides of envelopes to do that. Because again, this is about using your junk mail envelopes to create things for your journal, right? I don't know if this is going to be enough here, but don't have to worry about collaging this piece up here, because that's going to be gone. Let's see what I did. Covered all my glue pages. Let's put that up there. I don't want to use the halfies just yet. Okay, so we're going to turn this over. We're going to use my glue stick for this. I got to get an order going, actually. I discovered that. Now, when you're doing this, you also want to be thinking ahead of time whether you want this to be a removable piece or if you're going to be gluing it down. Because if it's going to be a removable, do this piece a little bit longer so you can fold it to the back. You know, be starting to collage the back at the same time. Trimming that out, trying to be careful not to actually cut my envelope. And you could wait till everything's done to do that part as well. You don't have to do that right away. I'm taking these edge pieces off because they're like double layer, and so they don't quite fit with the thickness of everything else. I could save them and use them for collage fodder, but yeah. I'm doing this as a glue in, but I'll show you what I mean by folding it over. Let's get this little piece off here. So if I was going to be gluing the back, or not gluing it into the journal and just doing it as a standalone removable, I would put this on here. I'll leave some over here too, most likely. So let's just pretend, and I'm putting this a little far up to cover that. Now there is a way, and I'm not very good at it, to put paper in here and then with a scoring tool tracing around this so that you can just put a solid piece on there. I'm really horrible at doing that. So if you're going to be covering the back, especially when you're doing the corner, leave some on both ends. Cut the little triangle off. It's like if you've watched me do book covers, you've seen me do this. And then you just fold this to the back, which there's not any glue left on that. Fold that to the back and fold this to the back. And then you've already got to start on collaging the back of your piece. I'm not going to worry about that because, like I said, I'm doing it as a glue-in piece. I don't know. I'm second guessing whether or not I actually clipped my piece. So we're going to go here. Now, doing the collaging, this is it's a very personal journey. Some people like to collage with big pieces, so they only have to use a couple. Some people prefer to collage with the itty bitties. Some of us are in between. It's a personal choice that everybody just kind of will reach by doing. The more collaging you do, the more comfortable you'll get with it, and then you'll be able to decide which way you like the best. For the sake of time in doing this video, I'm doing mostly big pieces. And I tend to be one of those in-between people. I'm going to go a little up here. Let's go here first. Let's go this way. I'm using my ruler to figure out where the edge of the envelope is. And then just gonna use that straight edge down there as best I can. Put that right there. Again, I'm moving it down so that it covers all of the area around the window. Kind of squares it off. If you like that round look, you'll have to use smaller pieces and kind of angle them around it. Now this is going to be your flap when it folds down. So you do have to do, I guess that's one advantage to folding that ahead of time, is that you know where your flap is at. Okay. Okay, so we're going to cover this. How about with this one? Now with this one, I would recommend that you do it big enough that you can fold some over to the back. So that way it covers this folded edge. I was hoping this was going to be, it'll be big enough if I go this way. Okay. And this will be the last of our collaging for the moment. So I'm lining up with that edge, and I'm flipping it over, and I'm just bringing it over to the back. And again, all that does is give this a neater edge. Now, when you are using wet glue, you don't want to fold things right away. You saw that little ridge that creates there. So while that is setting, first thing you're going to do is you're going to open up this end of your envelope. Again, that's the end that's farthest away from your window. Okay. Open your end up. Now you're going to cut down these sides to below. If you cut it directly to your fold line there, you're going to have difficulty getting papers and your tags and stuff in and out. So you want to cut your sides just below that fold line to give it a little bit more room. Get off of my scissors. Sorry. Get. So right there's my fold line. And I'm going to go down about that much. Flip it around. You're going to do the other side. And get your scissors in there. There's my fold line. And then I'm going to go down just a little bit. About yay much. Okay. Now this piece right here becomes your new line. What you do here, again, is a personal choice. The reason I did it longer here is because what I like to do at this point is fold that to the inside, because that strengthens that forward edge. So first I'm going to cut off that little extra. I'm going to cut these at an angle. Just like that. And then fold this to the inside. See, because I did it longer, that gives that edge a nice, clean space, right? You can glue that down if you feel you need to. It's not really necessary. It does, once it's folded in there, it stays on its own. But, for the sake of the video, again, once you've got glue on it though, you're going to want to keep it separated out as much as you can, and keep going in and making sure that you didn't accidentally glue your pocket closed. I've done that before. Glued that under and then realized much later when I went to use it that I'd actually glued it and I couldn't use it. So the next part we're going to do, because when you're sliding stuff in and out, you're going to see this part down in there. So I want to cover this piece, but I also want something that's going to slide down inside a little bit. So again, I'm going to take this off. Now, if this was decorated on the inside, if this wasn't a plain white envelope, you could try to figure out how to slide something in there to cover that the back part of it. Some people cut the envelope all the way open so that they can get stuff down in there. I'm looking for something small enough. Because if you're wanting to cover that at this point with everything closed up, you've got to figure out how to get this down in there so that it's where the window is at, so it covers that up. See, instead of it being white, it's got the cream color there now, and it's also hanging up on something in there. But you got to be able to get that in there and figure out now how to glue it to this back piece. So you'd have to spread this open, get glue down in there, and get it glued down. So some people prefer to do that before they seal the envelope. Like if the envelope was open on this side, you could just slide it in, glue it, and then it'd be a lot easier. I'm not worried about that because it's white, so I don't mind it, especially for the purposes of this tutorial. So I want this to slide in there a little bit. It's being a little on the stubborn side. I think it's just a smidge. Just a smidge. I'm going to use my scissors because I can't see what I'm doing with the ruler. I think it's just a smidge too wide. Okay, so I want that to slide down in there. So that way when I'm pulling tags out, I'm not seeing the back of the envelope. Does that make sense? And again, this is the hard part because now you got to get your glue in there. Or you can put glue first and try to shimmy it in there. I'll show you the difficulties with that. And I am going to use the wet glue. I'm going to use the silicone glue because it gives me some wiggle room. Because it doesn't dry immediately. It gives me some space and time to move stuff around and get it where I want it. So we're going to get that in there. And for me, I'm going to slide that down just a bit. I don't mind if it's not straight because, again, I'm going to be covering it. Now, you decide when you're covering the rest of this, do you want it to cover, do you want it to just go to the edge, or do you want it to wrap across over here? And I think because I'm going to use the blue, I want it to wrap we're going to have to go this way. Like it's not quite big enough. We're just going to randomly sort of randomly. Trying to use the little letters and bubbles there to decide how far down I'm going to go. Okay, so put some glue on this one. Now because this has C's on it, I have to decide which do I want them to be upright on the, where, it, you know, when I fold it down, I want them to be correct. We're going to put this way. So right now they're upside down. But when I fold the flap the right way, they'll be the correct direction. Give that a burnish. Get my little tool out here. Give this a little burnish. Now you might be able to see I'm getting some extra stuff hanging over. You can trim that down if you want. You can cover it. It's kind of, you know, it's your project. It's just kind of what ends up extra because, you know, you've cut the edges down. I prefer to trim them off like I just did. Okay. Now you can leave your flaps squared like this, or if you want them rounded, try to fold it in half so that the corners meet. You can trim them like you do a tag and just do a triangle there, or if these will fit in your, which they won't. If you're using a quarter rounder, you can just do it this way. Corner rounder. But if you're trimming, you know, snipping them, you want them to be the same on both sides. It's best if you either fold it like that or do the cut flip technique. Put a little bit more glue in there. Like, say this is the top of a tag. You're going to cut here, and you're going to cut your angle, and then you're going to take this piece, and you're going to take it, and you're going to flip it to the other side. Put it up in that corner. Trim that corner off. And then your angles are symmetrical. See, if you fold it in half, same thing. Snip. Just a little technique there. Kind of clean up my giblets, my giblets. Cut. I'm having such a hard time getting enough glue under that. Okay, now you think about your closure. Again, since this is going to be glued into the book, you can't just put a you know, an enclosure here and then wrap it, because then you're not going to be able to unwrap it because it's going to be glued down inside your book. So if you're doing it this way, what I like to do is 2 policy closures. See how when I folded it that way, it had it going in the right direction. Just burnishing those down. Now you can see, because I trimmed mine so that it's smaller, the edges do stick out some. I don't mind that But this is why you want to fold that down extra. So that way when you're sliding stuff in, you've got this space here. Otherwise, you're going to be like right up here on the fold trying to get your stuff in and out. But by folding it down some, it gives you some extra space. Okay. So now for closures. Get my hole punch back out. Oh, I'm like, did I put it away? I have a different one here. I'm going to use the little tiny one because it's what's accessible. So you're going to take some heavier paper, cardstock, scrapbook paper, you know, the hard stuff. You're going to punch out little circles. I said little holes. If you want them to match your piece, whew, this punch did not like that. I'm gonna yeah, this punch, so I don't like it. It likes to stick like this. And I have to beat it up. Sometimes it gets stuck. Now because this is not cardstock, it is heavier paper, but it's not cardstock. So I did 3 of each plus a decorative one. If you're using cardstock, you could get away with 2, potentially. Okay, so there's my pieces. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a stack. So you're going to stack, put some glue, stack, some glue, stack, and some glue, and put your decorative one on top. What you're going to do is you're going to take it between your fingers and you're going to squish, 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 squish. And what you're doing is squishing that glue out to the edges and sealing up the edges of your circles. You know, sealing them together. Okay. So again, we're going to put glue, glue, glue. Woo, don't slide. And you will get gluey doing this. Just heads up. And what I try to do is once I get the glue squished out to the edges, is I just stick it in my fingers and I rub it like this around the edges, so it kind of like glues over the edge instead of just to the edge. Okay. You're going to take your little pokey. I'm poking straight into this because it is a silicone mat. It's not going to hurt it. If you have just a hard table underneath, use a stack of book pages, use a book, whatever you want. And you're going to poke a hole in the center. If you have a way to center, great. If not, we're just eyeballing it. That totally is not centered. Okay. I get some extra supplies here. I'm going to go ahead and go with a blue. I have a whole drawer of unlabeled embroidery floss off to my right. So I just get in there and grab. So I've got those. Let me grab my... Whoa! Totally missed that. grab my brats. And again, I have new stuff that hasn't been put away yet that's blocking some of my cabinets, so I can't get to my smaller brads. So I'll use the little silver ones. Because it's the only little ones I have in here. These ones are much bigger. And then these are decorative eyelets. Which are kind of fun to play with too. Thought I'd sent a butterfly flying somewhere, or dragonfly, but don't see it. Okay. Set those aside. What you're going to do is bring your envelope. You're going to try to find your center, which is really a lot easier to do if you have a centering ruler, which means you've got a 0 in the center. And then you can center it out. So 2. Like this. And then you can mark. And then say, because this, where the window is, it's a wider window. If it was a skinnier window, you could go straight down if you chose to. I actually think it's kind of cool to set it offset it. So, right there. We're going to puncture holes. You don't want to go straight. You don't want to go because you're going to go through all of your layers. So with this one, lay it out flat. Poke. And with this one, you're going to have to stick your fingers in there. Find your mark. And then poke in between where your fingers are. A little challenging. Okay, so I'm going to put the blue one down here. So you're going to put the little leggies through the hole. Maybe. Might have to make the hole bigger. There we go. And then through this hole. And blindly, because you can't see in there, with your fingers in there, separate out, spread the legs, which you'll see when I do on this one. Spread the prongs. So again, this goes through your little piece here, go through the hole here that you made in the flap. And then you have 2 prongs. One goes to one side, one goes to the other. Now, on the flap, you can choose to leave this if you want, or you can cover it. I'm going to cover it. On the flap is optional. If I can figure out where my... Oh, I put it back on the shelf. Go figure. I'm like, if I can figure out where I put my... You can put a decorative something there. I don't have anything on my desk. Let's do something in black. Just for the giggle of it. Oops. So then you take this or whatever. You can put a die cut there, you can put a button, whatever. And you're just covering up the little prongs from your brad. Now, when it comes to this one that's inside, you have to do that. Because if you don't, whatever you're sliding in and out is going to get caught up on those little prongs. So going in there, it doesn't matter what paper you use. It can be any scrap because you're not going to see it. You know, it doesn't have to match your theme, you know, nothing like that. And again, you have to do this kind of blindly because you can't really see what you're doing in there. You're using your fingers as your eyeballs. Okay, so you're going to slide this in. Find the prongs. And to the best of your ability, attach that little circle. It doesn't even have to be a little circle. You know, for ease, you could do a big piece of paper so that you know, can really get your fingers on it. And then you take your tie. Anybody see where my embroidery string went? Oh, I see it. It got tangled up with my paper. Okay. You can tie it to this one or this one. It doesn't really matter either way. But you're going to go up under your circles. Tie it up and you're sliding your knot up underneath that circle. But what you're doing essentially is you're tying the knot around the prongs of your brad. And I tend to do 3 knots. Right now my fingers are not wanting to do that third one. Make sure you put your long one aside. I have accidentally cut the wrong string more times than I can count. And then try to trim this as best you can. Try to get it up under that knot, or up under that circle. And then you decide how you want to do this. You could just go round, round, round. Like so. And then go one more time just around this one to lock it in. I prefer the figure 8. So go round and around and around and around and around and around, and then whoop, circle around, lock it in. Pretty simple and straightforward little thing. Now, when you make your tags, I think I'm going to shorten it, you know. This can be as long or as short as you want. Depends on how many times you want to go around. But this would go in your book, and then you would make a tag to go inside. And you would decorate your tag so that you have an image that shows through the window. I don't know what is hanging up down there on the bottom. Don't know what the hang up is. But anyway, you'd cut your tag so that it fits between your fold here and your flat fold, because you don't want to bend your stuff. And whatever you decorate it with, you want something that's going to be pretty, that's going to show through your window here. And you could lock this in up here. Just go down and boop, and leave the string and put a charm on the end. Or like I did, come down to the bottom one, spin it around and lock it in. Either way. Now, how you put this in your journal, again, this is crafter's choice. I'm going to move this one back here. I've found a couple more, this being one of them, that I had forgotten about. So I'm having to move some stuff around because I made the journal based on what I had originally, and now I have more than that. So you can glue this all the way down and have it just be by itself. You could glue it on the two sides and the bottom, and it'd be a top pocket, or you can glue it here, here, and here, and have it be a side pocket, which is what I prefer to do with these, because then you can get a nice big journaling card back in behind there too. So again, you're going to go down one short side, down one long side, and across the other short side. Glue that down, and so that gives you the pocket that goes inside, and then you also will have a pocket here. So here and then inside. Just gotta get it to cooperate on the gluing down here. Depending on which pocket or which side you're gluing it down onto will determine which long side you put glue. So if this was going to be on this pocket, I would glue here, here, and here, so that way the pocket is opening from the outside. So if you have it opening from the inside, it's gonna be, at a weird angle. You're gonna be bumping into the spine, other ephemera, and just, it's a pain. So you want to make sure that you're opening to the outside of the journal. Give those a get squished down. Okay. And like I said, I can't remember where I saw this, so I don't know if this was on this one. Yeah, I think that was on that next ones. So there we are. This is episode 2, how to use your junk mail envelopes, how to use your envelopes in general in your junk journal. I hope you're enjoying this series so far. I welcome any and all feedback. Please leave your comments below. And as always, to all those YouTubey things. Till next time, peace out.